Apocalypse Diary, Day 8. Yes, I skipped a few days. I believe my last Apocalypse Diary was for Day 5. So Day 6 and Day 7 I skipped because they were the weekend, the family was home, and, Saturday was my daughter's first birthday. I've kept her alive for a full year, so, that's cool. Yeah, took a couple of days off, but now I'm back because I actually got some alone time to pick up the Apocalypse Diaries again. So, status update? Food, water, electricity, heat, internet, all still good. You can move on from there. So I started watching this show on Netflix called Happy, and it's got the guy from Law and Order Special Victims Unit, Christopher Maloney, I think is how you pronounce his name, Detective Stabler. He plays this very, very down on his luck former cop, maybe hitman. I don't know, that's not important. He's a barely functioning alcoholic. He's completely out of his fucking gourd. And he ends up meeting this imaginary friend called Happy, who is a blue unicorn voiced by Patton Oswalt. And it turns out that this imaginary friend belonged to Detective. What's his name in Happy? Nick. His name's Nick. So actually belonged to Nick's daughter. Nick didn't even know he had a daughter. She ended up getting kidnapped by like a serial killer or something. So Happy goes and finds Nick, who I'm guessing it's because of the probable damage he's done to his brain with alcohol and drugs is the reason why he can see Happy at all. Oh, hang on. What do we got here? Hey, Clarence. Clarence, you know you're not supposed to be out here. Clarence, I'm talking to you. Come on, go back inside. You're not supposed to be out here in the garage. Thank you. Thanks for coming to say hi. Sorry about that. So anyway, Nick and Happy are now on a quest to find Nick's daughter, and man, that show is just bonkers. After seeing Christopher Maloney play Detective Stabler on Law and Order for, many, many moons, and how Stabler's like a very, very serious, very grounded character, and just watching him play Nick, this insane alcoholic drug addict talking to an imaginary friend, it's just a joy. It really is, getting to see him flex those acting muscles. The show's rated TV MA, so, like, if you're under the age of 17, you probably shouldn't be watching it. So, there you go. What else have I been doing? Oh, right. I finally finished Resident Evil 3 Remake multiple times. That game is really, really good. I like how they handled all the post-game stuff. So, starting off, there's easy, normal, and hardcore difficulty unlocked. And once you beat hardcore, you unlock Nightmare. And then once you beat Nightmare, you unlock Inferno difficulty. I haven't done either of those yet. But the cool thing is, when you beat the game, you get this post-game shop where you can buy stuff. So the way it works is every time you complete an in-game challenge, you are awarded a certain amount of points that you can spend in the shop on a whole bunch of different, like, secret weapons and upgrades and stuff like that. And the nice thing is the challenges all carry over into different save files. So there's like one challenge where it's like, I think it's kill 100 enemies with assault rifles. So what you can do is, well, what I did was there's this segment in the game where you play as Carlos. It's actually the last time you play as Carlos. And what you have to do is you have to hold off this like infinite wave of zombies while your partner off screen does some stuff. So what I just did was I put a save file right before the beginning of that Horde invasion, and I just kept playing the Horde invasion over and over and over again until I, got the challenge. And there's a bunch of different challenges. There's, like, get X amount of kills with assault rifles, handguns, shotguns, magnums, grenade launcher. There's a challenge that's just kill X amount of enemies. However, there's a challenge for beating the game on various different difficulties, getting different grades at the end of those difficulties. It's a lot of stuff. And there's a ton of things in the shop you can do. There's like I said, there's secret weapons. So like the first time I beat the game, just by beating the game and playing well, I guess I got enough points to unlock the infinite ammo handgun, which is really, really nice. And there's other things too. There's these things called recovery coins, which if you can get 2 of them, and if you just have them in your inventory, they just constantly, slowly regenerate your health. It's really nice. Those are how I managed to accomplish my no heal run, which is also a challenge. And then there's defense coins, which as long as they're in your inventory, you take less damage. There's assault coins, where as long as they're in your inventory, you deal more damage. Yeah, there's tons and tons of unlockables. There's a lot of replayability to the game, which is nice because once you know what to do, you can beat the entirety of the Resident Evil 3 campaign really quickly. Like, there's one challenge for beating the game in under 2 hours, which I did. I think my time through the game was about 1:40, which is shorter than Resident Evil 2, I think. I don't know if I've ever beaten Resident Evil 2 Remake with a time under 2 hours. I don't know, I'd have to go back and look at my save files. So, the question, I guess, that people are going to ask is Resident Evil 3 Remake better than Resident Evil 2 Remake? And after having spent a good amount of time with both of those games now, I can honestly say that, that question is not entirely fair. I feel like that question is like trying to compare, like, the old classic Christopher Lee Dracula movie with Luke Evans's Dracula Untold movie. Yes, they're similar in the sense that they're both stories about a guy named Dracula, but at the same time, they're also radically different from one another. Resident Evil 2 it's a very slow burn kind of horror. Like, the game it's slow to build up, the pacing isn't really fast, there's a lot of tension around every corner, and Resident Evil 3 it's an action game. So I guess Resident Evil 2 would be a horror game with a few action segments, and Resident Evil 3 is an action game with a few horror segments. They're different enough that I feel you can't really compare them fairly and say one is better than the other, unless you're going to say, like, Resident Evil 2 is a better horror game than Resident Evil 3, but Resident Evil 3 is a better action game than Resident Evil 2, if that makes any sense. But I would still highly recommend Resident Evil 3 to anybody who enjoyed Resident Evil 2, because they're both very, very quality games, and I can't wait to see what Capcom does next. And that's about all I have to talk about today, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it on up. Thank you for listening, and I will see you tomorrow.